So yesterday I did a Facebook Live in my private group and someone asked kind of an interesting question. Is it possible that a breakup can actually strengthen a relationship? So here's the truth. Yes, a breakup can actually be a good thing, but only if the people involved in it take the time to address the issues that caused the breakup in the first place. Now, with this particular discussion, I'd like to kind of attack it from top to bottom, starting with showing you why most couples kind of inevitably fail when they get back together, and also ending with situations where couple who actually got back together stay together and kind of what separates those from the people who fail. So here's what we found out. Let's first start by basically talking about what usually happens when a couple breaks up and then gets back together. Now, at Ex-Boyfriend Recovery, I've been really blessed with my fair share of success stories. One of the things I've always been very vocal with is the fact that only about half of the people I interview who got their exes back actually stayed with that ex. It's a lot like the divorce statistic. I'm sure you've heard someone at one time or another spot off the fact that, half of all marriages end in divorce. Well, the same actually applies to getting back together with exes. But why? Well, I think the easy answer is that one or both parties make the same mistakes they did in the first go around. But one of the trends that I've noticed that almost no one talks about is that sometimes your ex has a complete misunderstanding of what love is. And I've been very repetitive about pointing out my relationship death wheel over the past year. The idea is that I'm kind of showing you the life cycle of a relationship from an avoidant perspective. And I highlight avoidant exes because most of the people that I've surveyed on my website believe that their ex is avoidant. And one trend I've noticed is that avoidants have a misunderstanding of love. So just kind of imagine the death wheel graphic. There are kind of 8 main stages to it. The dumper wants someone to love them. They find that person and believe their troubles are over. They notice some worrying things. This causes them to think of leaving. They actually leave. They're happy that they left. They start to feel lonely. They wonder why this always happens to them. And then they kind of start over and over again, whether that's with the same person or in a relationship with someone new. But really, the part that interests us for this discussion is stages 1 and 2. The I want someone to love me. Oh my gosh, I found someone. My troubles are over. This is also known in layman's terms as the honeymoon period. And without realizing it, the avoidant often is setting themselves up for failure. They start to expect that how they feel in the honeymoon period is how they're supposed to feel in every relationship. This is what being in love feels like. But that's the thing about the honeymoon period. It doesn't last forever. Inevitably, how they feel is going to level out. Now, where most people recognize that, the avoidant doesn't. They convince themselves that they are falling out of love with you. So they break up with you and they go hunting for that next honeymoon hit. And on they go. Now, I'm not going to say it's the most common outcome I've seen, but I've seen it enough to know that it does exist. So the question now becomes, how do you get them out of this vicious cycle? How do you make this breakup a strength? So how do you basically beat the odds and strengthen that relationship? I was actually kind of curious to see what some of my peers, aka other websites, were saying about this. And as you'd expect, you get kind of the typical answers, gives you time to get back in touch with the real you. You can fix the mistakes you made, which I pointed out above. Take it as an opportunity to grow. Imagine the relationship you want. I won't call these shallow answers, but what I think they lack is substance. And that's the problem with today's age of online advice. So I started Ex-Boyfriend Recovery way back in 2012, which is wild because it just feels like yesterday. But when I first started, I used to write these epically long articles of like 5,000 to 10,000 words. I went deep, really got to the substance of the point. And yes, I believe the website was better off for it. But maybe starting in 2016, I began to notice that there was a shift online. Google actually started giving preference to shorter, more to-the-point articles. I mean, it's even gotten to the point where you don't even need to click on a website anymore to answer your question. Seriously, in research for this discussion, I typed into Google, can breaking up strengthen your relationship? And I basically got one of those featured snippets. Basically, Google goes through a website, they put a specific paragraph often out of context as the featured snippet and kind of expect that to be the quick hit that will help you answer the question, I guess. But something as complicated as this discussion can't be answered in a snippet. You have to go deeper. You have to find the substance of what actually works. And that substance is going to be found, in my opinion, in the concept of attachment styles, secure attachment gravity. I think that's how you strengthen your relationship. I've definitely talked about this a lot in articles I've written, podcast episodes I've filmed or recorded, videos I've even recorded. So I apologize if you're familiar with what I'm about to say, but if you're new and this is new to you, you're in for a treat. So first, a few statistics. Our average client consider themselves to be on the anxious spectrum, while our average client's exes tend to veer more towards the avoidant side of things. So generally, the average pairing that we're dealing with is avoidant ex and anxious client. Now, if you're not familiar with how these attachment styles typically operate, then allow me to briefly summarize.